Welcome to a deep dive, into a book that's really captivated a lot of readers for decades.
Hmm.
Autobiography of a Yogi.
Yeah,
We're going to journey into a world that just might challenge some of the things you thought you knew about reality and the power of the mind and, I don't know, maybe even like human consciousness.
that's all right.
Even for someone like me who loves digging into all sorts of topics,
Uh-huh.
this book was a whirlwind.
Oh, wow.
Reincarnation yogis with these incredible abilities, a whole different way of looking at life and death.
Yeah.
It's really something else. And to help us unpack all this, I've got an expert here with us who can shed light on these intricate spiritual traditions and concepts that are woven through the book.
It's true. This autobiography isn't just recounting events. It invites us to question our assumptions about the world and our place in it. It's a blend of personal experiences and philosophical exploration that can really make you think.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
The author Paramahansa Yogananda, he claims to have these really vivid memories of a past life as a yogi in the Himalayas. I mean, can you imagine remembering another life so clearly?
Yeah.
I mean, what does that even mean in the context of Eastern philosophies?
Well, reincarnation is the idea that the soul journeys through multiple lifetimes, and it's a fundamental concept in many Eastern traditions.
Yeah.
And it really contrasts with the Western idea of just a linear progression, from birth to death.
Right.
It suggests that we are more than just our physical bodies, and that our experiences extend beyond just a single lifetime.
Yogananda doesn't just talk about past lives in general, though.
Yeah.
He shares a very specific story about predicting and experiencing a boil on his arm as a child,
Oh, wow.
even applying ointment beforehand.
Wow.
It's like he knew the future. Is this what people mean by precognition?
It certainly sounds like it. Precognition, the ability to perceive future events, has been reported by mystics and seers across cultures. Whether it's a literal ability or maybe even a symbolic representation of deeper spiritual insights, it challenges our understanding of time and perception.
So, from a young age, Yogananda seems to be having these unusual experiences. But
Yeah.
what about his family?
Right.
What was their reaction to all of this?
Well, Yogananda's father was actually quite skeptical of spirituality, at least initially.
Okay.
He was a man of strict discipline and a simple lifestyle. There's actually a great anecdote in the book about him forgetting to claim significant bonuses owed to him from his railway job.
Oh, wow.
Money just didn't seem that important to him.
It seems like he already embodied certain spiritual values without necessarily identifying as spiritual, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a good example of how we can live out spiritual principles without being explicitly religious.
Okay.
Yogananda's father represents the householder path engaged in the world, but still focused on inner growth.
Uh-huh.
This contrasts with the renunciate path, where one might withdraw from worldly affairs to focus solely on spiritual practice.
It's interesting to see how those two paths play out, both in Yogananda's family and in his own life.
Mm-hmm.
But things really take a turn when he encounters his guru's guru, Lahiri Mahasaya,
Right.
who was this figure and what made him so influential in Yogananda's life.
Lahiri Mahasaya was a master of Kriya Yoga, a spiritual practice that we'll delve into later.
Okay.
He's depicted as a man of immense spiritual power, a conduit to a lineage of masters stretching back centuries. He emphasizes direct experience of the divine, not just intellectual understanding.
And those experiences get pretty wild.
Yeah.
Yogananda claims he was healed from a potentially fatal illness just by looking at a picture of Lahiri Mahasaya.
Wow.
What do we make of that? Is healing through spiritual energy a concept that's accepted in Eastern traditions?
Yes. Many spiritual traditions believe in the power of saints and gurus to channel energy for healing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a concept that often pushes the boundaries of what we consider possible in the West.
Yeah.
But it's a core belief in many Eastern practices. The idea is that there's a power beyond our physical understanding that can influence our well-being.
There's even a story about a photograph of Lahiri Mahasaya mysteriously going blank as if he somehow controlled the physical image itself.
Right.
It's almost like he's bending reality.
That story, while incredible, touches on the idea that advanced yogis might be able to influence the physical world through their understanding and manipulation of subtle energies.
Right.
It's a concept that might seem fantastical,
Yeah.
but it aligns with the yogic understanding of a deeper interconnected reality beyond what we perceive with our senses.
Okay, now this one really blew my mind. Yogananda describes meeting Swami Pranabananda, and his friend ends up having an encounter with the Swami even though they'd never met or spoken before.
Right.
What could possibly explain that?
That story introduces the concept of astral travel, or bilocation. This is the idea that a person's consciousness can exist in multiple places at once, potentially moving beyond the limitations of the physical body. It suggests the possibility of accessing different planes of existence, which is a recurring theme in the book.
So we've got reincarnation, precognition, healing energy, and astral travel all in the first part of the book.
Well,
It's a lot to take in, but I have a feeling this is just the beginning of Yogananda's incredible journey.
you're absolutely right. These early encounters set the stage for a lifetime of spiritual seeking filled with even more incredible experiences and teachings.
Wow.
Yogananda's journey challenges us to reconsider what we think we know about the world and the limits of human potential.
Before we move on to the next chapter of Yogananda's journey, I'm curious what stands out to you so far.
Okay.
Is there anything that resonates with your own understanding of spirituality or the nature of reality?
What strikes me most is the way Yogananda weaves together personal anecdote and philosophical insight. He doesn't just tell us about these incredible events. He used them to explore deeper questions about consciousness, the nature of reality, and the potential that lies within each of us. It's an invitation to question our own assumptions and to open ourselves to the possibility of a much wider, more interconnected reality than we might typically imagine.
It definitely makes you wonder what's possible, doesn't it? And I'm eager to see what else unfolds as we delve further into Yogananda's life. So stay tuned because we've got plenty more to explore in Autobiography of a Yogi.
Right.
So far, we've seen that Yogananda's life was anything but ordinary, even from a young age. But as his spiritual journey unfolds, it becomes clear that it's not all about blissful visions and miraculous healings.
Right.
You know, there are challenges too, moments that really test his faith and resilience.
That's an important point. The spiritual path isn't always easy.
Right.
It often involves facing difficult situations that force us to confront our limitations and grow.
One story that really illustrates this is the penniless test in Brindaban. Yogananda and a friend, they set out on this pilgrimage with absolutely no money, relying solely on what they called divine providence to provide for them.
Wow.
What exactly does that mean, and how does it play out in the story?
Divine providence in this context is the idea that a higher power, the universe, God, or whatever you might call it, will provide for your needs
Right.
if you trust and surrender to it.
Okay.
It's a leap of faith, a letting go of control and embracing the unknown.
Yeah.
In the story, Yogananda and his friend face numerous challenges,
Oh.
but they are consistently provided for, sometimes in seemingly miraculous ways.
It's one thing to talk about trusting the universe,
Right.
but it's quite another to actually put it into practice, especially when you're in a foreign place with no resources.
Yeah.
Did Yogananda ever doubt this concept? Did he ever question whether he'd made the right decision?
He definitely experienced moments of doubt.
Mhm.
It's human nature to question things, especially when we're outside our comfort zones.
Right.
But even in those moments of uncertainty, he kept returning to his faith, his belief that there was a higher power guiding his steps.
There's this humorous anecdote in the book about Yogananda and his friend trying to avoid paying for a train ticket by pretending to be European boys with fake accents.
Oh, wow.
It seems like even in the midst of these spiritual tests, there's room for laughter and lightheartedness.
Absolutely. Humor is often overlooked in discussions about spirituality,
Right.
but it can be a valuable tool. It helps us maintain perspective to not take ourselves too seriously.
Yeah.
Yogananda's journey, while deeply spiritual, is also filled with moments of humor and human connection.
It's a good reminder that the spiritual path doesn't have to be all seriousness and asceticism.
Right.
It can be a joyful and even playful journey. Speaking of human connection, there's a thought-provoking story about Yogananda meeting a policeman who recounts a tale about a yogi forgiving his attacker.
Okay.
It's a powerful example of forgiveness in action, but it also raises questions about how we respond to injustice in our own lives.
That story really speaks to the heart of what it means to practice forgiveness.
Yeah.
The yogi, even while being severely injured, expresses concern for his attacker's well-being.
Wow.
It's a level of compassion that transcends our typical responses to harm.
It makes you wonder if we're capable of that kind of forgiveness, especially when we've been deeply wronged.
Right.
Do you think it's truly possible to let go of anger and resentment, even in the face of terrible acts?
It's certainly not easy, and it's a process that takes time and effort.
Yeah.
But forgiveness isn't about condoning harmful actions. It's about freeing ourselves from the burden of anger and resentment.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that holding on to those negative emotions ultimately hurts us more than anyone else.
So these early experiences on the road, filled with challenges and unexpected encounters, seem to be preparing Yogananda for the next chapter of his journey.
Right.
Formal training under his guru, Sri Yukteswar Giri. What kind of figure was Sri Yukteswar, and how did he shape Yogananda's spiritual development?
Sri Yukteswar was a master of Kriya Yoga, known for his strict discipline, vast knowledge, and unique teaching style. He embodied both the wisdom of ancient yogic traditions and a modern scientific perspective.
Okay.
He challenged Yogananda intellectually and spiritually, pushing him to go beyond his comfort zone and confront his limitations.
It sounds like a pretty intense apprenticeship.
Yeah.
Did Yogananda ever rebel against his guru's strictness? Did he ever question his methods?
Of course, there were moments of friction. Yogananda, being a young man, sometimes struggled with the strictness of the ashram life.
Yeah.
There's a funny anecdote about him wanting curtains for his bed because of mosquitoes. But Sri Yukteswar, unfazed by the insects, seems to have transcended the need to swat them away.
It seems like there's a lesson there about the power of the mind to overcome even physical discomfort.
Right.
Did Sri Yukteswar teach Yogananda techniques for achieving this kind of mental mastery?
Yes, mental discipline and control are core principles in yoga. Sri Yukteswar emphasized that true freedom comes from mastering our inner world, our thoughts and reactions, rather than trying to control external circumstances.
Right.
He taught that by stilling the mind, we can tap into a deeper well of peace and wisdom.
This reminds me of another fascinating figure. Yogananda meets the sleepless saint Ram Gopal.
Okay.
He claims to have transcended the need for sleep. Is that even possible? How does that fit into the yogic understanding of human potential?
The idea of transcending sleep might sound unbelievable,
Yeah.
but it aligns with the yogic belief that we can access higher states of consciousness that minimize or even eliminate the need for certain bodily functions.
Interesting.
The yogi sees the body as a vehicle for spiritual growth, and through disciplined practice, they believe it's possible to unlock extraordinary capabilities.
It's like there's a hidden potential within us just waiting to be unlocked.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of extraordinary experiences, Yogananda describes his first experience of samadhi. Can you explain what samadhi is and why it's such a significant concept in yogic philosophy?
Samadhi is a state of profound meditative absorption, where the individual consciousness merges with the universal consciousness.
Okay.
It's said to be an experience of pure bliss, a glimpse into the true nature of reality beyond the limitations of the ego.
Wow.
It's the ultimate goal of many yogic paths, a state of complete union with the divine.
So it's not just about physical postures or breathing exercises.
Well,
It's about expanding consciousness and experiencing a deeper connection with something greater than ourselves. It's fascinating how Yogananda's journey interweaves with the lives of these extraordinary individuals, each offering a unique perspective on the spiritual path. And it's not just limited to mystics and saints. He also interacts with the renowned scientist J.C. Bose, finding common ground in their shared fascination with the wonders of nature.
That's a really important point.
Yeah.
It highlights the intersection of science and spirituality, two fields that are often seen as separate, even opposing. Both Yogananda and Bose were seeking truth, whether through scientific inquiry or spiritual exploration. They recognized that both paths could contribute to a more complete understanding of the universe and our place within it.
It seems like Yogananda's journey is challenging the typical boundaries we set between different disciplines, encouraging us to see the interconnectedness of all things. And his experiences continue to become even more mind-boggling. He witnesses miraculous healings, learns about the deeper meaning of astrology, and encounters people with seemingly supernatural abilities.
Those are some of the most captivating aspects of the book,
Right.
but they also require us to examine our own beliefs and assumptions about what's possible.
Yeah.
Are we willing to consider that there might be more to reality than we currently perceive? Are we open to the possibility of a world where the seemingly impossible becomes real? These are the questions that Yogananda's story invites us to explore.
I'm definitely feeling challenged to expand my thinking.
Good.
And we're not done yet. There's still much more to uncover in Yogananda's journey.
Indeed, the deeper we go, the more we realize that Autobiography of a Yogi is more than just a fascinating story. It's a call to awaken to our own spiritual potential, to question our assumptions, and to embark on our own journeys of self-discovery.
I am ready for the next stage of the exploration. What awaits us in the final chapter of Yogananda's life?
We'll witness the culmination of his teachings, encounter even more extraordinary individuals, and explore the profound lessons he learned about life, death, and the ultimate nature of reality. Get ready, because it's about to get really interesting.
So we've seen that Yogananda's journey has been filled with, these mind-bending experiences, spiritual challenges, and even encounters with some truly extraordinary people. But as we kind of enter these final chapters of his autobiography,
Right.
I feel like we're stepping into territory that really pushes the boundaries of what we might think is even possible.
It's true. This is where the book ventures into the realm of what some might call the supernatural or miraculous. But even these incredible events are presented within a philosophical framework that encourages us to question our assumptions about reality and the limits of human potential.
One story that really struck me was the healing of a young boy named Ramu Sri Yukteswar. He simply touches the boy's forehead and instructs him to focus on this mantra, and days later his blindness is cured.
Wow.
It almost sounds too incredible to believe. How do we reconcile these kinds of stories with our modern understanding of the world?
It's a question that many readers grapple with.
Yeah.
Some might dismiss these accounts as fantasy or exaggeration,
Right.
but others see them as evidence of a deeper reality, a realm where consciousness and energy can interact with the physical world in ways that we don't yet fully understand.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What if there's more to healing than just pills and surgery? What if the mind plays a much greater role in our well-being than we currently acknowledge? And speaking of the mind's power, we encounter Gonda Baba, a yogi who can materialize scents.
Oh, wow.
He can make the fragrance of roses appear just out of thin air.
Gonda Baba's abilities, while extraordinary, align with the yogic understanding of prana, the vital life force that flows through all things.
Okay.
Advanced yogis believe that by mastering prana, they can manipulate matter and energy, even influencing the physical senses. It challenges our very notions of what's possible and suggests that reality might be much more fluid and interconnected than we tend to think.
Definitely stretching my imagination. And then there's the topic of astrology, which Yogananda initially viewed with skepticism, but under Sri Yukteswar's guidance, he comes to understand it in a whole new light. It's not about predicting the future as we often think of it in the West,
Right.
but about understanding karmic patterns and using that knowledge to make, conscious choices.
That's right. In the yogi tradition, astrology is seen as a tool for self-knowledge and empowerment. It's about understanding the energies that are at play in our lives and learning how to work with them rather than being a victim of fate.
Sri Yukteswar even goes on to propose this cosmic cycle theory, suggesting that Earth's history unfolds in these vast cycles of rising and falling consciousness, each lasting thousands of years.
Wow.
It's a pretty mind-blowing concept.
Yeah.
What are the implications of this theory? How does it change our perspective on history and our place in the universe?
The cosmic cycle theory expands our view of time and human evolution. It suggests that we are not just isolated individuals living out a single lifetime,
Yeah.
but part of a grander cosmic drama, a dance of consciousness that unfolds over eons. It invites us to see ourselves as part of something much larger than ourselves and to consider the long-term consequences of our actions.
It's a humbling perspective for sure. And speaking of reinterpreting ancient wisdom, Sri Yukteswar offers a fascinating take on the biblical story of Adam and Eve. He sees it as an allegory for the interplay of reason, emotion, and primal energy within each of us. What do you make of this interpretation?
It's a symbolic reading that highlights the challenges and opportunities of human consciousness. The fall from grace, in this context, represents the moment when we became entangled in the material world, forgetting our spiritual essence.
Right.
It's a reminder that true freedom lies in transcending the limitations of the ego and reuniting with our divine nature.
It's like these ancient stories, when viewed through a spiritual lens, can reveal deeper truths about ourselves and our place in the cosmos. And central to Yogananda's own journey is the practice of Kriya Yoga, a technique passed down through his lineage. What can you tell us about Kriya Yoga and its potential for spiritual growth?
Kriya Yoga is a powerful system that combines breath control, concentration, and meditation techniques to awaken and direct the flow of prana, the vital life force.
Okay.
Practitioners believe that Kriya Yoga can accelerate spiritual development, leading to profound experiences of peace, bliss, and expanded consciousness.
But like any powerful tool, it seems like Kriya Yoga can be misused. Yogananda tells the story of Afzal Khan, a Muslim fakir, who initially uses his yogic powers for good, but eventually succumbs to the temptation to use them for personal gain.
Right.
It's a cautionary tale, isn't it?
Right.
What does it teach us about the importance of ethical conduct on the spiritual path?
Afzal Khan's story reminds us that spiritual power without wisdom and ethical grounding can be dangerous. It's a theme that runs throughout mystical traditions. The idea that true power lies not in controlling others or manipulating the external world, but in mastering ourselves, our desires, and our ego.
It's a lesson that seems especially relevant in our modern world, where the pursuit of power and control often overshadows the values of compassion and service. As Yogananda's journey nears its end, he faces the ultimate transition, the death of his beloved guru, Sri Yukteswar. But even in death, Sri Yukteswar defies expectations. He appears to Yogananda in a resurrected body, explaining that he's now working on a higher astral plane.
This extraordinary event challenges our linear understanding of life and death. It introduces the concept of the astral world, a subtle realm where consciousness continues to exist and evolve after physical death. It suggests that death might not be the end, but a transition to a different state of being.
It's a concept that resonates with many spiritual traditions, offering comfort and hope in the face of mortality. And Yogananda's journey continues, filled with encounters with other remarkable individuals, each offering their own unique perspective on the nature of reality and the path to spiritual awakening. He meets Therese Neumann, a Catholic mystic known for experiencing the stigmata Mahatma Gandhi, a champion of nonviolence and spiritual activism. Ananda Moyi Ma, a saint who rarely ate food and embodied divine bliss, and Giri Bala, a woman who hadn't eaten for over 50 years. It's like he's crossing paths with a whole spectrum of spiritual expression.
These encounters highlight the universality of spiritual seeking. While the outer forms and practices may vary across cultures and traditions, the core yearning for connection with the divine, for self-realization, and for a life of meaning and purpose is a common thread that unites humanity.
It's inspiring to see how these individuals, each in their own way, embodied the transformative power of spiritual realization. They serve as beacons of light, guiding others on their own paths of awakening.
And Autobiography of a Yogi, through Yogananda's incredible life story, offers us a glimpse into that possibility of transformation. It challenges us to expand our view of what's possible, to question our assumptions about reality, and to explore the depths of our own spiritual potential.
This deep dive into Autobiography of a Yogi has been an incredible journey. We've encountered miracles, explored profound philosophical concepts, and witnessed the transformative power of the spiritual path. What's the one key takeaway you hope listeners will glean from this exploration?
I hope listeners will come away with a sense of wonder, a renewed curiosity about the nature of reality, and perhaps even a spark of inspiration to embark on their own journeys of self-discovery. Yogananda's life story shows us that the potential for awakening, for connecting with something greater than ourselves, exists within each of us. It's a journey that requires courage, commitment, and an open mind. But the rewards, as Yogananda so beautifully demonstrates, are immeasurable.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Autobiography of a Yogi. If this exploration has sparked your curiosity, I encourage you to seek out the book and embark on your own adventure through its pages. It's a treasure trove of wisdom, inspiration, and perhaps even a roadmap for your own spiritual